Hello, and welcome back to Small Screen Stories. This is the show where I go over all the news of the day in the world of entertainment and pop culture. So, movies, TV shows, sometimes video games, and very, very occasionally, I will also talk about comic books. I am Edward Lauder. I am the editor-in-chief of Small Screen. I'm the guy that started it all, and I just like chatting about pop culture, movies, and TV shows in particular. And today's show is going to be slightly different because today we're going to be talking well, it won't be different, but it'll be kind of, I think, a bit more interesting because we're going to be talking about one of what I believe to be the biggest news stories that's kind of broken, let's say, in the last couple of months, and that's James Bond and who's going to be playing James Bond after Daniel Craig. So it had been revealed by, or supposedly revealed by a scooper called the Vulcan Reporter, who said that Tom Hardy was going to be the next James Bond. And this caused, well, it didn't cause anything, but people ran with it. It got a lot of traction online, which was kind of unusual because I know the Vulcan Reporter, the blog, and I know who's behind it, and their sources tend to be quite good. They've broken some things in the past that it's proven to be correct, but this one is kind of weird because it really came out of nowhere. But today, we were talking about it again. People were talking about it in the news. And the producer, the James Bond producer, Barbara Broccoli, kind of said that the next actor to play James Bond doesn't have to be a white man. And that, for me, personally, I think that's great to hear because it doesn't need to be a white man. Now, Barbara Broccoli in the past has been very adamant that the next actor to play James Bond will be a man, but it won't be a white man. She was actually more interested in making more female, kind of original female roles in the Bond universe, but not specifically making James Bond a woman. Whereas, as far as James Bond's concerned, the actual character, why not? Why not make him of different ethnicity? Why not make him black? Why not make him Asian? There are a lot of actors out there that would make for a very, very interesting James Bond. And not all of them are white men. Not all of them are British. Some of them are American. Some of them are Australian. We've had Australian James Bonds in the past. We've had George Lazenby play James Bond. The very first Bond of all time, Sean Connery, was Scottish. And if you rewatch those movies, excuse me, if you rewatch those movies, his accent is very, very Scottish. He didn't try to change it. We've had Irish Bonds in the past. So it's constantly changing, but it's always kind of been British and it's always been white. So let's just go over what she actually said. This was actually on Total Film. And so she said, I always say you can only be in love with one person at a time. Once the films come out, then some time will pass and then we'll have to get onto the business of the future. But for now, we just cannot think about anything beyond Daniel. It will have to be reimagined in the way that each actor has reimagined the role. That's what's so exciting and fun about this franchise. The character evolves. Eventually, we will then have to think about it. We'll find the right person. And then she said, he doesn't need to be a white man, not as far as I'm concerned. And I really like hearing her say that because it means they're starting to think outside the box. So a lot of people, of course, have been talking about probably the most famous name involved in all of this is Idris Elba, and Idris Elba is someone that you kind of go, yeah, that makes sense. But the problem is he's now a bit too old. I'm actually blanking on how old he is. He's only a couple of years younger than Daniel Craig, and if he were to be cast as Bond, then excuse me. It's not coronavirus. I'm sorry, I just got something in my throat. But if he were to be cast as Bond, the problem would be you'd only have him for potentially one, maybe two movies. And that's not really something that you want. You want to cast somebody that will be in the role for a relatively long time. I mean, Daniel Craig, this is his fifth Bond movie? Wait, he did Casino Royale, he did Quantum of Solace, he then did Skyfall, Spectre, and now No Time to Die. So yeah, it's his fifth James Bond movie. That's a long time to be playing Bond. And they kind of want someone who could do the same thing, who could be around for as long as he has been. Also, they want someone that can be as invested in the role as Daniel Craig has been over the years. Say what you will about Daniel Craig as James Bond, the guy really, really cares about the franchise. He's a producer of these movies, and without him, I don't think the Bond franchise would be where it is today, where it's actually seen by many as it was seen by many as the potential savior of cinema, especially of cinemas. In England especially, they're really, really banking on that movie. It being pushed to 2021 was a massive blow, and is part of the reason why many movies in the UK decided to just shut down until further notice. So there are lots and lots of actors out there that could play this role. Everyone is claiming that so-and-so has been cast. You know, you've got Tom Hardy there, you've got Richard Madden. I mean, so many. The one thing that seems to be the same with all of these actors is they are all white and British. So hopefully that won't be the case moving forward. Maybe we'll have something slightly different. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you think should play Bond next in the comments below. That'd be interesting to know. And let's move on. God, this thing's not going away. So moving on, and we've had some really interesting developments regarding Spider-Man 3. So I've actually spoken about this at kind of great length on the site. We posted some articles about Sir Andrew Garfield signing on to star in a future Spider-Man movie, not Spider-Man 3, and then Tobey Maguire as well. And I've spoken about this before. I mean, this kind of scooping game is not really, it's kind of turning a bit ugly at the moment, because there are certain people that are being very, very vocal online. I'm not going to name names, but it's quite funny actually to watch it. But basically what happened was that ET Canada, they went directly to Sony Pictures and asked them if there was any kind of truth in these claims that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were going to star in Spider-Man 3. And a representative actually got back to them, which is rather unusual. I am emailing people all day, every day from different movie studios, and you very rarely get anything back from people. But apparently they got something back, and they said that those rumored castings are not confirmed. I will show the article here. This is the article on small screen. So you can see here, not confirmed. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to happen. But let's kind of get away from that. Basically, what I was told today by multiple people is that actually, no, they're not going to be in Spider-Man 3. That was never the case. That was never going to happen. So what we were actually told is that they're going to be in future Spider-Man projects. But this whole thing is like, you get told these things and then you really have to vet them. I keep on saying this every night, but it's like, you've got to be really sure. You can't just, I mean, I get told things, ridiculous things by tipsters all the time, by supposed insider sources, and they're just bonkers. The idea that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield would be in Spider-Man 3 is just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Because that movie would be just jam-packed full of people, and then you've got like you'll have a ridiculous plot that won't make any sense. It's a well-known fact that more characters does not make a better film. We've seen it in the past with these comic book movies. So why are people so adamant that they're going to be in Spider-Man 3? The movie is filming right now, and it's one of those things that it's just like, it just doesn't make any sense. You've already got Doctor Strange in this movie. You've already got Jamie Foxx's Electro. You've already got Tom Holland's Spider-Man. You know, after a while, it just kind of gets too much if you're going to add Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire into this movie. What we were told, and actually, I actually every time I get a source like this, I do ask if I can direct quote them because it does make it a bit easier. But basically, what they said was, I'll put it up on this on here. No, neither Garfield nor Maguire have ever been in discussions regarding Spider-Man 3. That's what one source told me. And then a second source said it was never Spider-Man 3 they're in talks for. It's a future Spider-Man movie that they've signed on to. And then a third person said that Maguire and Garfield have signed a multiple picture deal with Sony Pictures, which will start with the Spider-Verse live action movie. There are never talks for Spider-Man 3. Again, I mean, I like to put the quotes there, but I really do. I mean, I do trust a lot of my sources, the ones that I actually run. I do trust them, but the thing is, there are some people that just want to get stuff like this out, and they're fans of the movies, of they're Marvel fans or comic book movie fans, and they just want to talk. The thing is, the ones that I do run with are the ones that I can vet. So the ones that I know are actually in the business, in the industry, working for the companies they say they work for, which is something that you always have to look at. Otherwise, anyone can tell you something and you can run with it, and it gets silly after a while. But what I do want to say is that every single exclusive that we posted, I mean, I call them exclusives because that's technically what they are. But the ones that I post are the ones by sources that I trust. And also every single article we posted about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield being in talks was relating to a future Spider-Man movie that will kind of almost act like an Avengers Spider-Man film, where you have different versions of Peter Parker from the Spider-Verse, potentially even Tom Hardy and Jared Leto's characters, all fighting to actually, apparently, I mean, not all being involved in one movie together. And that was the idea, and that's the kind of end goal for this kind of Sony Pictures Spider-Verse, let's call it. But I mean, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you think this is a good idea, what do you think about everything that's been going on regarding Spider-Man 3, all the news that's out there at the moment, from different blogs and things? What do you make of Sony Pictures' actual quote? Does that mean that they're going to be in Spider-Man 3 or not? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Moving on. This is a really, really interesting story, this next story. So what's happening with Black Widow? I mean, at the moment, it's been pushed into 2021. It's now coming out in April 2021, I believe. And the problem is, it's like, how many times can you push it? That film's already been pushed twice now because of coronavirus. At some point, they've just got to release it because there are going to be too many movies coming out. I mean, 2021 is already just jam-packed full of films. And that is a problem. That's a problem because after a while, like the movies that were going to come out in 2021, they're going to be pushed. Some of them will have to be pushed into 2022. So where does it stop? This has created a massive backlog that is going to be after a while, they're just going to have to release films on streaming. There will be a lot of films that were supposed to come out in cinemas that will end up being released on streaming platforms. And Disney is kind of in a pretty good position here because they have their own streaming platform. So that means they can afford, to a certain extent. I mean, Disney is a very wealthy company still, even throughout this coronavirus pandemic, where actually they've been hit pretty badly because they haven't been able to release movies and their parks are closed. You know, that's their two major sources of revenue right there that are just cut off completely. But apparently a Disney investor has now urged Disney to move the release of Marvel Studios' Black Widow to Disney Plus rather than release it in cinemas. And this actually comes from Variety. So they're one of the big trades. So, you know, you tend to trust them. And the investor in question is Dan Loeb, who's the head fund manager of Third Point, with roughly $1 billion stake in Disney. And he said what Netflix has in the cement subscriber base that allows it to invest in an enormous amount of content and amortize that to get more subscribers. That's a kind of odd quote, but never mind. Disney isn't there yet, but they need to get there as quickly as possible. If they don't get critical mass in their subscriber base, they will permanently be disadvantaged versus Netflix. So, and within the article, within the Variety article, he goes on to state that they should actually just release movies like Marvel's Black Widow, which is, it's an interesting idea. But the problem is, if you're going to release, we've already seen with the release of Mulan, which was released on Disney Plus, that didn't go so well for Mulan. It didn't do as well as it would have done if it had been released in cinemas. Regardless of what you think of the film, the thing is, if you're going to make people pay, what was it, about $30 in the US to watch Mulan, that's one person can buy that, and then the whole family can watch that. Whereas if you go to the cinema, you need to buy one ticket per person in general. There are ways around that. But it means that their revenue stream is cut. So they can't make as much money from releasing a film like Mulan on streaming. They just can't do that yet. That's why they need cinemas. That's why they're really reliant on cinemas, which is also why it's so stupid that they're not supporting them. They're just saying, no, we're not going to release anything. And I get it. I get that you don't want to release anything because you know you're not going to make as much money because cinemas are basically half capacity. You got to come up with some kind of middle ground. Then it's a really, really difficult thing to sort out. It seems as though people within Disney, investors, are very keen for Disney to make money again, which is, I think, is what this investor wants, because he's probably losing money. And he sees streaming as the future of that. The problem is that your subscriber base is limited. You already see what Netflix is a company that's in billions and billions of dollars in debt. It's like a Trump quote then. But yeah, so it's in a lot of debt at the moment, which is weird because you think, well, they're doing really well. But actually, no, they're having to borrow a lot of money to get these projects made, because there are only a certain amount of people they can get to subscribe to Netflix. And then also, probably the way forward is by saying only one person can subscribe. So you have individual subscriptions, whereas at the moment it's kind of, you can share them with your family and stuff like that, which is great for us as consumers, but it's not fantastic for the companies themselves because they lose money compared to if you go to a cinema and each person has to buy their own ticket. It's as simple as that. So is releasing Black Widow on Disney Plus going to happen? No. No, it's not going to happen. It's something they're desperately waiting for to be able to release in cinemas, because they know they're going to make much, much more money that way. It's the same with Wonder Woman 1984. When you read articles saying Disney is thinking of releasing Wonder Woman 1984 on streaming, it's not the case. Sorry, not Disney, Warner Brothers. It's not the case at all. And there's a reason why that is, because they know they can't make as much money. And it's as simple as that. Also, the other thing with Wonder Woman is that if they do release it on streaming, they'd release it on HBO Max probably, and that's not available everywhere. So, for instance, I live in France, it's not available here. I used to live in the UK, it's not available over there. It's just one of those things. It's difficult to get HBO Plus content over here. But what do you think? Do you think Disney should release films like Black Widow on streaming rather than waiting for them to get into cinemas? They are releasing Soul on Disney Plus, which is kind of interesting. I really didn't expect that to happen, because that is, Pixar movies tend to make over 800 million at the box office in general. They do very well because a lot of people want to see them because it's a kids movie. They do well. It's kind of unusual that they decided to release that on Disney Plus, but maybe they also saw that there's just a massive backlog and they couldn't find a spot to release that film in cinemas. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. So moving on. Apparently, The Mandalorian, let's say Jon Favreau and Pedro Pascal said that they're not against the idea of it being turned into a movie, which is... That's it. It's an interesting idea. They did talk about this kind of a while back, where they were saying that there is a possibility that they could just kind of cut down the first season and release it in cinemas as a film, which they've done with things in the past. I think I remember The Trip, the Rob Brydon and Steve Coogan series. It was released as a series here in the UK, but it was released as a movie in the US. So, that ideas like that are floating around. But apparently there is an idea that, after, let's say, 4 seasons, they could end up finishing The Mandalorian with a film, which I think is quite a cool thing to do. It's quite a novel idea. But let's just go over what it was again. Another interview with Variety, because everyone loves to talk to Variety. So Jon Favreau said, "The line is blurring now. Things that you would have only seen in the movie theater, you're seeing on streaming, and I think it'll go the other way as well. So things on streaming will be seen in the cinemas." And then Pedro Pascal said, "I think that the work is so beautiful that I would love for that to be held by a big screen experience. But it seems to work so well that I'm also not sure it's something that I would want corrupted by any kind of change. I mean, I certainly know that the challenge can be met. It's not like these people don't have the experience. If anybody can do it, they can." So again, they're obviously thinking about this. It's something that's probably been on the table for a while, especially now that the trilogy, the kind of Skywalker saga, is now officially, it's officially over, but The Mandalorian still kind of ties into that. So maybe Disney likes the idea, and probably Lucasfilm as well, likes the idea of kind of bringing back, to some extent, the Skywalker saga into cinemas by having a Mandalorian movie. It's not a bad idea. There are also rumors that The Mandalorian might end up getting its own spin-offs, certain characters getting their own shows, and end up turning into The Walking Dead, which is what's happening with The Walking Dead right now. And it's an idea. I think it's an interesting one, just kind of keeping things rolling with as far as Star Wars is concerned, because we don't really know what's happening with the films. That seems to be a bit of a mess at the moment. So maybe one thing Disney and Lucasfilm really wants to do is kind of double down on these series, and releasing movies further down the line based on these shows, where it's kind of a continuation of the show. I think is something that could be done, and I think it would be pretty lucrative. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that The Mandalorian could be made into a movie? Let me know in the comments below. So we've got 2 last bits of news before I say goodbye, and that's that a new Riddick sequel starring Vin Diesel is rumored to be in the works. So, full disclosure, I'm not the biggest fan of Riddick in the world. The thing is, I loved Perfect Dark. Not Perfect Dark. That's a video game. Pitch Black. Sorry, I loved Pitch Black. I think it was kind of a stripped down horror movie kind of, and I saw it when I was probably way too young. It came out in the year 2000, so I would have been about 9 or 10. I didn't see it when it came out. I saw it a bit later, but I was too young, and it stayed with me. It was around about the same time I think I watched Alien, and I loved both movies. I mean, Alien's still there. It's still one of my favorite films of all time, but Pitch Black was something that I really, really enjoyed. After that, the Riddick films just got ridiculous, and they got more into fantasy. Vin Diesel got his claws into it a bit more and wanted to make it, more of a fantasy type thing, which is it's his bag. He loves that sort of stuff. But we're now hearing from insider again, Daniel Richman, that the movie is reportedly moving forward pretty quickly. So he said that the film will be called Riddick for Fura, I think it's pronounced. And this we kind of knew it was in the works, because this was a while back. I think it was about a year ago, probably longer than a year ago, when Vin Diesel actually shared on Instagram the first page of the script, which had been finished. So it's definitely something that's been in the pipeline for a while. Whether or not things, because of coronavirus, things probably were, they put the brakes on some things. Also, Riddick is kind of, the last couple of movies didn't do as well as probably they would have hoped. They were basically panned by the critics. But apparently, Vin Diesel wants Carl Urban to come back as the villain. Now, Carl Urban is someone that is in popular demand at the moment. Carl Urban is in The Boys. He plays Billy Butcher. He's fantastic in that show, although his Cockney accent is awful. I'm sorry, Billy. Well, sorry, Carl. He's a Kiwi, so, you know, it's not easy. But, yeah, it really isn't good. It's not a good accent at all in that. It's a bit better in season 2 than it was in season 1. I'll give him that. But he was also in Thor Ragnarok as Scourge, and I really loved him in that. And I also loved him in the Star Trek movies as Bones. So, yeah, he's also a fantastic Dredd. And I think everyone wants to see that back again. They want to see Carl Urban back as Dredd. Whether or not it's going to happen, I don't know. But, yeah, they want him as the villain in the movie. And that would be interesting. I think Carl Urban is a fantastic actor. Whether or not he'd do it, I mean, you know, everyone's got their price. He might like it. He's definitely shown that kind of side to him in The Boys. He's got a kind of gruff edge about him, which I think is really quite fascinating, and I think it would really lend itself well to being a villain in the Riddick movies. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? What do you guys think? Are you guys keen for another Riddick film? Let me know in the comments below. Moving on. HBO Max is rumored to be is rumored to be interested in a Ben Affleck and Jared Leto Batman and Joker series. This is a bit of a joke article. Well, not really a joke article, but it comes from We Got This Covered. And We Got This Covered is one of those websites that they like to post a lot of things, a lot of rumored, reportedly articles. But they're claiming that the higher-ups at HBO Max are thinking of making a new Batman series, a Batman and Joker series. They didn't specify what it would be about, what would be involved in this series. They just said that they're thinking about it. And it's one of those things that I find quite funny, because it's like, when reporting on these sorts of articles, the stories I always say at the very beginning, this is a rumor, and please take it with a pinch of salt, because these things don't always turn out to be true. But we already know that there's a Batman series, a Batman spin-off series, the Batman spin-off series, which was written by Matt Reeves. And that's kind of more about the Gotham Police Department. It's not Gotham. I think it'll be more like the comic books. So there's, I'm blanking on the name right now. I think it's behind me, actually. Yeah, it's behind me. Gotham Central, that's what it's called. And that's a fantastic series, comic book series. So apparently that series is going to be based on those comics. And this one, there's kind of no real information about what's going to happen in this series, whether it is actually really happening or not. But apparently they're really interested in getting Ben Affleck and Jared Leto back as their respective DC Comics characters. We already know that Ben Affleck is coming back in the Flash movie, which is really interesting. That film kind of is turning out to be one of the most interesting films, I think, that's coming out in the future. Because first off, it's directed by Andy Muschietti. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I just want to talk about this film. And then secondly, it's going to reportedly star Michael Keaton as his version of Batman from the Tim Burton movies, and Ben Affleck as his version of Batman from the Zack Snyder movies. And it's also going to star Ezra Miller as his version of The Flash. That's insane. Apparently the multiverse is going to be involved in this as well. So it's just one of those things that it's a movie that I'm really excited for. Anyway, going back to this supposedly HBO Max series. So apparently they're looking at getting these guys back together again for a series. It'd be, to be honest, a Batman and Joker series is an interesting idea. But the problem is like Jared Leto's version of the Joker was so, well, let's just say it's not beloved. like kind of Ben Affleck's version of Batman is. People really loved his version of Batman, and people are really excited to see him come back again and play that role again. But would it work? You know, if they're going to do it, yeah, why not? You know, we can give people second chances. He only actually got to play the role once in Suicide Squad, and that film was, let's just say it was a difficult movie. It was basically the film we got wasn't the film that David Ayer wanted to make. and it wasn't. There's a lot of reportedly there's a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor involving Jared Leto's Joker, but he was also a bit of a mess on set, I think, and he went a bit meta, not meta. He went he went a bit method on that. That's the word I'm looking for. But what do you guys think? Would you guys like to see an HBO Max Batman and Joker series? You know what? I'm warming to the idea. I think it'd be quite fun. But let me know in the comments below. And that'll be it for tonight. It was a bit of a quick one this evening because, to be honest, there wasn't actually that much news today. It's a bit of a slow news day. But if you are interested in pop culture, then please go head over to Small Screen, which is at small-screen.co.uk. You can also follow us everywhere on social media at Small Screen GB. That's Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And you can follow me at EJ Lauder. That's Edward James Lauder. I'm the editor, and you can follow me there as well. If you want to write for us, you can. You can find the contact details on the website, or you go on the contact page. It's hello at small-screen.co.uk. That's the email address. I'll just say that. Basically, I've had a lot of people write for me, and some really, really good stuff I've had over the last couple of months, and I've been overwhelmed, and it's been incredible, the response, and some brilliant writers. I spoke about this yesterday, but there's some great stuff on the site today, some great features. I didn't go over them today because they're features and they deserve to be read. So if you can, please go and read them. That'd be fantastic. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend, guys. Thank you, and goodbye.